Welcome, friends. My name is Mitch. Today we're going to be doing a tiger. Roar! So, as part of the Back to Basics series here, we're going to go step by step on how to do this tiger, what I'm doing, and why I'm doing it, more importantly. And so today we're going to be using a lot of Unison pastels. Why? Because Unison's cheap. And I do like cheaper pastels. The ones that are outrageously expensive, not a big fan. So here we have a piece of light gray velour. And again, velour is like a carpet. So the velour paper gives us the ability to have a fuzzy type of blurred look without a lot of effort. So you don't really have the same amount of effort doing velour as you would some other surface. So a lot of surfaces you literally have to go and draw each individual hair, and we might have to do that because this has a lot of hairs, but for the most part velour just makes it look soft without a lot of effort. So today we're using Unison pastels, and I like Unison pastels. However, if you get them, make sure to get them in the UK and not from the USA, because for some reason the USA they're $6 and in the UK they are only $2.50. So big difference there. So we're going to try a couple of colors and just to see how they look at this point. And the first color is going to be Y13 of Unison. So we'll try that and just put that on and take a look at it. And I do like that. That looks really dark. And one thing you could do after you do a pastel, you rub it with your finger, and then what it'll do is shove it down into the carpet base, and that'll prevent it from falling out. So you don't have to spray seal it after you're done. You just make sure and rub it with your finger or rub it with a tool. I mean, they have many tools that you can use to force the pastel farther deeper into the velour carpet, like these stumps. And you can get one of these stumps and just rub your pastel deeper into the carpet fiber. And that way it's not going to fall out later. Because that's one of the big issues you'll have if you just leave a lot of loose pastel on the surface, is eventually it'll just fall out. So this is a darker orange. So what we want right here under the eye, we have this sort of a darker orange. And I encourage everyone to make a color chart of all your pastels. But the color chart is only useful on the first layer. For example, this color chart here shows me how the different pastels look on white. However, the pastel will look completely different once you have another layer on the bottom. Does that make sense? So this pink 681, which is Carbothetical pencil, is going to look like that on white. But if I have a bunch of orange and then I come back with that pink, it's not going to look like that. It's going to look totally different. That's why your color chart is sort of a limited tool that you're just going to use in certain circumstances. I think for this circumstance, it's nice because we have just base coats, but and I think that's a little too dark. And what we can do is, again, rub it with our finger to lighten it up. Always make sure you get if I'm doing green or something, make sure you're using either a new glove or a different finger, so you don't rub orange into the greens. So I think this is a little too dark, but we're just going to force a little in with a finger, and we're just going to sort of go the direction of the fur. And that's an important point when you get into these pastels, is you want to go in the direction of the fur. So if you don't, then it starts to look a little odd. And we're just going to take our time. Go through here, put this darker orange on here, yellow 13 from Unison, and then as we go up here, it gets lighter. So the Unison brand, as you go down, it gets darker. No, it gets like, yeah, it gets a little darker. As you go up, it gets lighter. So this is Y16. So you can see Y16, yellow 16, has a nice yellow tint to it, and that matches. And by using the two colors near each other, we get a nice blend. One thing, velour paper, because it's a carpet, type fiber based paper, what it doesn't do is blend. When you rub, the fibers preventing the dust from going here to here. You have fibers in the way. So the dust already fell way deep into the fiber, and by rubbing the fibers, you're not going to move it because it's below that point. So what you have to do is and it's just dust. So you put your darker dust and your lighter dust in between. You go lightly over with both and blend it in. And that way you get a transition from darker to lighter. So up here we do have a little lighter color. So what we're going to do is just come in with this. And above the eye here, just going to get a nice blend of that. And you just want to make sure you get enough dust on there so it'll look nice. So as we come down, we went from 13 to 16. Now we're going to go 14, which is sort of an intermediary between the two. And we're going to do like that. That's going to be all right. So let me adjust the light. Interesting to watch this because you can see if it's too light or too dark. All right. So then we're going to come in here like that and go through. Like this, and just want some of this here. And again, we're going the direction of the fur. And that is a pretty saturated orange. And that's part of what I call my Moore theory, which means once you get it behind glass, it loses saturation. And it also loses clarity, and you lose a lot of individual hairs, which is why I don't put a lot of emphasis on little individual hairs until the very end. So that is desaturated. Do have an orange 16. Let's see how this looks. That is super saturated. I'm not sure that's going to fly. See, what do I have that's more of a desaturated color? Do have this. It's more of a pinkish. Don't think that's going to work. Well, it might. Let's go with this. It's a desaturated area, but we can come back with the pastel pencils and desaturate it with that. So for now, we'll just have too much of a saturated area right there. So we do have this desaturated orange. It seems to be pretty much everywhere. We can use the Y16 around in through here. And right around the nose area, we have a really light and airy type of color. It's going to be mostly white. I'm going to lay out that. And then coming up through here, so we're in the base coat stage. The base coat stage is when you just want to put down some color. Just cover up the surface of the paper for the most part. And that's almost a little brownish. Could get this gray. See how this looks. This is gray 20. Gray 20. That's an interesting color. I like it, but I don't like it for that particular spot. Alright, So that is like a fairly desaturated orange. It's kind of nice. So let's go ahead and commit to this for this little section of the nose right here. And we're just sort of making hairs with this by running it up and down and making it look nice. And across the nose you have shorter hairs, and shorter hairs means more dot style pattern. So that's what we're doing here. It's just making a bunch of like patches, dots and patches like that. What that does is it helps the short hair illusion by having little short pats of dots, if that makes any sense. Not the Super Bowl pats. It's like little dots and patterns. You don't want to make them all the same. You want to have them a little different. But as you come up through here, this sort of stops and goes around like this. And this is the end of the dotted pattern. You still have shorter hairs, it's just not in this particular pattern. So we're just going to touch this like that. And again, make a dotted pattern, and then you mash it in with your finger in between the fibers, and that will prevent it from falling out everywhere. If you don't, a lot of pastel will sit on top of the fibers, and then when you go and move it, when you frame it, you'll get a bunch of stuff falling all over the inside of the mat or inside of the frame, and it looks really bad. So you just want to push it into the fiber, and you have that nice little pattern there. So then as we come across outside of the nose, we still have this dotted pattern like right here. And the dotted pattern sort of comes up a little bit, and then comes up here, and then it sort of stops. And again, we push it down, like that. Alright, so within there, we have a more saturated orange. So we can come back to our, that's going to be a little darker than that. We can come back to our Y13, which is yellow, and make little dots on the outside here, but just press it in a little bit. Like that. So we just sort of calm that saturation down a little bit. You don't want it 100% saturated right here. You just want a little bit of color. What you don't want is a whole desaturated portrait, and then it just looks odd. So you have that nice look and feel here to that. All right, so we have that. How does that look in the thumbnail? Looks pretty good. So the same pattern that you have here also sort of comes out along here as well. And again, we're talking fairly short hair. So you just want to kind of go the direction of the hair here. This nice desaturated pattern across. Just blend it together. My table is squeaky. Alright, so that looks a lot like the picture. Now remember, this is only dust, guys. So if I have that dust, I can lightly come in here with a different dust and blend it in. So now I change the shade of that particular dust by introducing another dust. And all you do is just come in here really light with a different color dust. So now you have a nice delineation between super saturated, not so saturated type thing. So then as you come down here, again, this is really desaturated. Desaturated meaning it's sort of mixed with the opposite color on the opposite side of the color wheel. And in turn, that makes it not as vibrant and bright, and leans it a little towards gray. Because as you mix two colors on the opposite side of the color wheel together, if you do it in equal portions, it becomes gray. So desaturated means it's not the pure color, but you're sort of forcing it to lean towards gray. It's the same thing you have right at the corner of the nose right there. So you have like this little patch. So we're just going to do that. So now we have a nice mashed in pastel with the colors that we want and the quantity that we want. So it's looking pretty good so far. So as we come out to the other side of the nose, we have this area right here that again is desaturated, so we're just going to use this. And this is the base coat stage. So base coat stage means it's not going to be finished. It's going to look a rough shot, and you just have one color down and you're going over it with some other stuff later. That's all that means. And the other stuff is going to be your pastel pencils, and then your colored pencil at the very end. You don't want to do colored pencil right now because you will wax bloom it, meaning you'll cover it in wax, and then you can't really do anything else to it. So if you look at the thumbnail, I have a nice illusion of small hairs, and that's just because I got the pastel and just went little short dots. Now a lot of people say, including me, that you can't use pan pastel. So this is pan pastel. A lot of people say you can't use pan pastel on regular pastels because it will not look good. And the pan pastel is like a wet peanut butter type pastel. So when you touch it, it will jam into the fibers and stop, and it won't blend like it will in other papers. And the reason for that is because it's like a moist pastel. But if you're looking for a deckled pattern, or if you're looking for these little blotchy areas, pan pastel will actually work really good. And the beauty of pan pastel is it will last you forever. One of those pans will last you years and years. There's so much pigment in there. And also a good thing, most of those are non-toxic, so I mean, it really works quite well. So let's come in with Y14. Again, this is the yellow series. You're going to see that's way, way, way too saturated. But as we rub it in, it becomes less annoying. What you don't want to do with this is press really hard, cover this thing in this color, and then it's going to look absolutely terrible. And again, remember, it's just dust. You can come over with a different color pastel. And we're just going nice and slow. We're taking it relaxed. I want to show you guys from start to finish how this works, what to do. Started the Back to Basics series, which takes us back to the beginning of this is what you do and all this stuff. So I think a lot of my videos I just like goof off the entire video, but I want to let you guys learn that you can do this, and it's extremely stupid easy. There's not a lot to do. That's a good thing about pastels. Like oil painting, you see these people that have been doing it like 10 years and it still looks relatively newbie. But pastels, you see these people doing it for like 2 weeks and it looks photorealistic. And they'll post it on social media. They'll be like, I just started 2 weeks ago, and everybody's like, no way. And you see that that's a repeated pattern with pastels. People become really good really fast because it's just not that hard. The paper makes the fur soft. The colors, you know, you can sort of mix and match the colors to make the color that you want. There's no blending of colors for the most part, unless you just want to make a new color. So if you get the right color and you get the dust and jam it in the right areas, you have a beautiful painting. And I'm looking at this and it already looks all right in the thumbnail. So I haven't really done anything. I'm sort of goofing off around here. So get this, go through there like that. And I want to vary it up a bit. That was Y14. This is Y13. Why? Because I can. Because it's Y13. So just make a little bit of a speckled pattern there. This is definitely a full face happy cat. That's why I was drawn to this. So let's give credit real quick. This picture was from pixabay.com. That is a free image site. It's brought to us by a name I can't pronounce. And it's public domain, free for commercial use. No attribution required, but I'm going to attribute anyway to pixabay.com just for having free stuff. So if you like their images, go over there and check them out. You get a bunch of free images that you can play with. And it's no cost to you. Just grab the free download and hit a like button if you like them. So you can buy them a coffee if you want, as they say on there. But again, since there's no attribution required, you don't really have to. But I like to give them credit because that is really nice. They're paying money to host this website, and they're hosting all these beautiful animals that we can paint for free. So I really like that. I'm thankful for sites like that. We do appreciate it here in the dorky art world for sure. Because most people will charge you an arm and a leg for anything they can. A lot of stock photo sites, you get like a tiger or a lion, you are going to pay through your nose. I think I bought, when I first started, I thought that was the only reference I had. And I think I bought a few pictures and they were outrageously expensive. So I'm thankful for the people that give me anything for free. I like free. Does anyone not like free? Well, the people that are competing, I guess, in my case. 23 minutes in. We barely got anything on the face done. That's okay. We're talking about the technique, playing around with this stuff. So you want to sort of get it close to the color that you want. Get you a nice blend. And then as we come down, we're going to make it a little darker with the Y13. That's around the eye. Oops, that's white. Good thing about making a mistake, you just put more pastel over it. And this is just about matching values and colors and all that. So as we come up, now it gets much lighter. And we have an orange 16, which is pretty darn light. We're going to get that. Yeah, we're just going to touch it through here and make us a nice saturated bright color right there. Okay, cool. So that nice color there, nice color there. And then we can come in with the white. Let's see, where is my white? There's Mr. White. Come in with our white. So this here was a mistake right above the eye. So all we're going to do is just cover it in a different color. So if you do make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Just come in and fix it with a different color. That only works for so long, obviously, because you will eventually feel the tooth of the paper, meaning the fibers will have all the gaps in between them completely filled. But it works all right. As well as you can come in with colored pencil and fix any mistakes you made. So that comes across here and like up around there. And then across through here, comes out, back. All right, cool. Then we have some white down here on the nose. It's not really bright white, so it's kind of nice that it's mixing with this other one. Right? And then underneath here, let's go and do some white across through here. Now you got to be careful because there's a black portion right above that. Oh, we got 3 minutes. So we have our black pastel somewhere. So this is our Pastel Giro. And come in with that. And even though this is the base coat stage, we can get a little bit of detail in here by just using this. And then I'm not convinced my trace is accurate on this. Come up in here. And that goes up a little bit. It touches there, then it comes down, and it comes up here. And we just get a little detail here. Just free detail. Just like the free image from Pixabay. Then that comes across like that. Looks all right. We'll continue the mouth. There's a really thin line right here. Then that comes out right here. This nice section there, and then that comes up right here. And the good thing about these harder pastels is you don't have to go and press them in. They sort of do that automatically for you. So this is a Giro 513. It's actually labeled as dark green. But there is no green in this at all. It is just dark. And that's why I like it. It's actually darker, in just my opinion, it's darker than black. If you were to go through here with black pastel of any sort, it would not be as dark as this dark green. Which is why I absolutely adore Giro pastels. Unfortunately, they're outrageously expensive. Alright, I'm not convinced about that trace either. I think the nose is just off. At least my trace of it is. I'm not convinced that that's accurate. I'm looking at the photo, and this has more of a straight lean here, and then it sort of comes down. And you do want it nice and dark in some of these areas, but there is a little hint of blue, as you can see in the reference photo. A little hint of blue across through here, and you want to sort of respect that. However, it's difficult at times. Alright, so we can get a little bit of detail here without ruining the photo by going up through there. A little bit of dark there. Not a lot. You don't want to just smooch this in darkness. And again, we have a hint of blue here as well. So we're going to come in with the pastel pencils first after we finish this, and then we're going to come in with colored pencil, and during one of those stages we'll add a blue hint to this, because it has a blue haze to it, not a purple haze, a blue haze to it, and we have plenty of blue pencils and whatnot that will help us out on that. Alright, so over here, I'm not sure what we have. We have not sure how accurate that is either. Let's see. So I have this area, and then we can put in some stripes, like the 80s movie. Right here. That, just a little light. One thing about stripes, you want to be careful. You don't want to put a lot of detail in them too early, as well as you don't want to make them too large. I think that's the biggest problem is, number one, making them just too large to begin with, and then you're struggling because it looks awkward. And the second one is putting too much detail too quick, because you have to come up and make it look like hair. You can't just draw a straight line. And that's what I see a lot of people do, is they'll draw just a straight line. And it doesn't look real, because of course the stripe is not a straight line. It's a series of hairs that are colored different. So now we'll come into the nose. And the nose is like a pink. I do have a few pinks we can try. This is like an orangish pink. And I think that nailed it. I think this is going to do us all right. Again, I'm not exactly sure about the dimensions on this. So I traced this on the computer, and I think I got it for the most part. But then as you're comparing it to the picture, it sort of changes your mind a little bit. As well as I don't think this is exactly the color that I want, but it'd be a good base for the color that I want. So that comes up, across, and then down. Like that, and then down. So let's look at that versus the reference. I think that's all right. It's a little wide. We can fix that. So I know that the middle section is okay, so we can get a pink color. And this is orange 11. So we still have our orange, but at the bottom of this, it's a little lighter in places at the bottom. So we'll try to replicate that. And I said it's a little lighter, a little wider than I think it should be. So I don't want to go all the way up to the edge. You just mash that in and blend those two colors together. And so I think that looks all right. It looks pretty good. All right, so now let's get back with our white and go into underneath here. A little bit detailed. I want it white, and then we're going to come back in with a darker color to make it look like fur, and that's called cheating or negative painting. So you can do, instead of making all the little white hairs, you can give it a large white area and then come back with a darker lines and make negative fur, or fur that you didn't actually draw, but you're drawing in between the furs, if that makes sense. So it's easier to do a big broad stroke like this with a bigger tool than it is to come in with a little pencil and draw every little hair, which is ideally what I don't want to do and what I had to do on that stupid bird. And I was not happy and pleased at all with that bird. So, yes. All right, and then we'll come across and just sort of blend that in like that. Get it mashed in. And normally I would do this about 4 times faster than what you're seeing, but I just want to kind of chill, just sort of do this, play with it, see how it works out. Normally I'd get the pastel and I'll just go wild with it. And today is Saturday and I just want to chill out, not do a lot of that. Normally when I come home from work I'm still kind of wired, so I'll just go through and do this whole thing. Realistically, I can do this entire thing, base coats, in about 30 minutes for this whole painting. So that's assuming I have all the colors ready, which doesn't take that long. That's assuming that I got the time and everything else. So, all right. Okay, cool. I like that. That looks all right. So now we need to come in and sneak back in with this gray 20. And the gray 20 is our desaturated color. And what we can do is we can score a little bit of detail through here. Not much, but a little. And that's sort of what I want to do. Normally I would not do this, but since I'm sort of showing you guys the whole process, a little bit of detail doesn't hurt anything. All right. And then we came across through here, but this looks too much like a straight line. So what I'll do is come down across and do a little hint there. And then a little hint here. And then come across here. All right. So it gets a nice blend. It looks pretty good. All right. And then as we come across through here, we're going to go up. And we're just going to get the darker color that we started here, kind of blends up into there. And mixes with that saturated color like that. again, this is, you know, shorter hairs. It's not going to be like long, detailed hairs. And then as you come up across through here, that's like a lighter. Let's try this yellow 15 for just this spot here. Because it's light, but it's not horrifically light. And then as you come up, it gets lighter. So we can do a little mix of that. We don't have to commit to that just yet. Again, we're just making the shorter hairs. So, I like that. That looks nice. We got our nice darker values here. Lighter values as we're sort of smooching up there. And then as we come across the side here, I'm going to get our yellow 13. And underneath the eye, we got this nice area here. And again, we're oversaturating this. I realize it's not this saturated. I know somebody's probably screaming at me. Dude, you realize how not saturated that is? But as you rub it in, it becomes a little less desaturated. And again, we have our Moore theory, which once it gets behind glass, you will be very happy that it's saturated. My place is filled, literally, with paintings that do not use the Moore theory and look really disappointing behind the glass. Sorry. They look so disappointing. And I look at them and I think, my first thought was, what is wrong? What did I do? Did I expose this to sunlight or something? Or what happened? But the reality is I bought cheap Home Depot lights. And those things are not gallery worthy. So again, this is really desaturated here. You see this. And as we come up, I'm going to desaturate it some more, you know, some. We're going to darken it. And we're going to hit this a little with the dark as well. So you get that hint of something that works right there. It like grabs your eye, right? Then as you come up, it looks like the sunlight is hitting this portion here. So I want to lightly hit it with this yellow 13 darker. And then as you creep up towards the sunlight, just get a little this other color. You come in with this lighter color. And so you get this nice, and you go the direction of the hair. And so you get this nice blended look right here. Then here as well, you have a mixture of a saturated and then a desaturated. You get like that. You go the direction of the hair. It looks nice. And then as we come out across through here, it gets even lighter. We have some here that's not as light. So now we're going to come in with our Y16. Why? Because we can, right? And get a little bit of a different color like right through here. So you can see we have 3 colors. It's not just one color. And by doing 3 different oranges, you get this cool effect that you otherwise would not get at all. So you see that? I mean, it's a nice, cool, interesting effect. And from a distance, that almost looked like hair. So that's going to be one of the boons of this technique is it almost sort of looks like hair, even though you haven't really done anything, except just run your pastel across it and talk to the camera. For my whole 3 viewers. Hello, 3 viewers. So now we're coming with the BE, which is a brown earth. So right here you have a darker segment, and this is sort of a brownish, greenish thing, but I want it from a darker segment, and I want it a bit into the black area here. And it's dots, see? More dots. Like World of Warcraft video. Onyxia, more dots, more dots. Stay away from the whelps. Have that nice look there. And then you can do little light little dots into this other area just to give it a little speckle pattern. So you got more dots, stop dots. See, then you rub it in, you have a speckle pattern into the light. And so that makes a nice blend, right? It looks like the picture. The picture has this nice blend there of dark into light, and you can do that with just a little speckled pattern. All I'm doing is barely touching it, making little dots. Okay, cool. So that looks really nice. I think that we have a winner so far. Do need to figure out all these hairs and the black-white delineation here, things like that. So as we're coming up across through here, we have the white, but it's sort of grayed out. So what we can do is we have different grays with different names in the Unison brand. This is gray 23. So it's not quite white, but it's not yellow. It's sort of grayish, yellowish. We're just going to put that there. And that's going to give us a nice base for some grayer hairs that are coming across through here. And then as you come up here, you're blending into white. So again, this is a base coat. So we can get our white pastel. This is Giro 525, otherwise known as white. And you can come into that gray area with these harder pastels. And you can use Rembrandt. You can use cheap, nasty student pastels as long as they're a hard pastel. And you just make a little dash. And from a distance, that looks like hairs, or looks like a hair pattern. So it gives you a little cheat of doing hairs. You don't want to overdo it because you'll fill it up and it doesn't look like hairs anymore, but just for like a Walmart style hair, this works pretty good. And then you can come up and sneak this up into there. You have, you're obviously going in the direction of the fur. And then over here, you have a very, very bright white. So what you do is you press a little harder. With your pastel. So you pressed a little harder, and now you have a brighter, whiter area. And you can do this for like this area here, if you want it to look like hairs, etc., etc. But I just covered it in white for now because it's just easier and quicker. But for little areas like this, where it matters that it looks a bit more like hair, and because that's a grayish, so we can get a gray again and come across through here and just lightly speckle it like that. Then blend it in. It looks like a hair pattern. So now we're going to come up to these areas up here. We have this desaturated color as you get off of this area. And because Unison is a harder pastel, you can get away with sort of just coming in and lightly hitting this. And just light. But then you have that nice pattern there. So, that looks alright. And between those, we have a grayish color. I'm not sure what that is. That's almost like a desaturated orange. We do have a sort of a desaturated orange from Giro. Come in with this harder pastel, just sort of hit it. You get that blend. And again, you can use Rembrandt. You can use whatever cheap pastel you want. It doesn't really matter. So long as it's a harder pastel. And you can use New Pastel as well. New Pastel has some great harder pastels that you can use, and they look fantastic. Nothing wrong with new pastel. It's a harder pastel, just want to be careful of how you use that. Okay, so we have that nice pattern that goes across there. And then in between that we have our black. So we can grab our black pastel here and then sort of come out. And again, you can use Rembrandt, use whatever you want. Just come out a little bit here and then it comes up there. And I'm just going the direction of the hair. Extremely important. If you don't go the direction of the hair, it will look awful. And you will be posting it on your social media. Why does this look awful? And it looks awful because you didn't go the direction of the hair. So in between there is a light area. So we just barely touch it in between there. And that gives us a nice transition. Then as we come up, we have our section here. Above that, we have like a little section there. Little there, little there. Oops. And as we come down through here, going towards here, so we can make our little dots like there. Make a little dot, little dot. And you notice I'm not drawing a hard dot, it's just a series of hairs, right? Little dot, little dot. Underneath there, you have like a little dot here. Underneath that, you have a little dot. And then it sort of just comes down through there. And as you go down, the dots get a little bigger. Like that. Then here you just got a little spotch. Not doing a lot of detail. Just sort of masking the dots. See how much we can get done in one shot, right? Like that. And then underneath there, you got a dot. And then you're pressing less. So I mean, that looks nice. Then above that, you got a dot, another little dot. Like a bigger dot right here. Like that. Underneath the nose, you got a dot. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So, now we're going to come back to this. You got like a little area that comes down like that. Cool. Now we're going to come back to over here. So we just need to fill that in with a lighter white. And we actually can come in with the white from here. So this is a snow. So we have the 359 Giro, and that'll just make a nice snow pattern like that. And then over here we have a broad snowy area. It comes across through here. And this 359 makes a beautiful blue, whitish thing. Come in, make a nice pattern across through here, and you have little specks in the snow. I like snow. I'm from the South. We see it so rarely we like it. I'm sure if you live in Canada, you'd probably be like, I used to like snow until it snowed for 84 days, and then I'm not really a fan any longer. But, you know, if you're in the South and you only see it once a year, you're a big fan of it. Alright. So we just want a hint of the snowy area. Don't want to paint the whole thing in because these are expensive. Got to watch out for that expensive crap. Alright, so I'm happy with that and I'm happy with that. So the whole area I'm fairly happy with. Which is good, huh? If I'm not happy with it, it's going to cause problems. I might throw it away. Little speckled pattern there. You can come in here and have a little fun with a little speckled pattern. You don't want to go into too much detail yet. Over here you got like the speckled hairs and stuff. It's a beautiful thing. You don't need a lot of pastel pencils or colored pencils for some stuff. In the base coats you can handle a lot of hair and fur. Just make sure you go in the proper direction. And then you just sort of rub it in so it doesn't look too garish. See how that nice hair pattern going through there? Alright, so as we come out, we're going white again. So we get our big white pastel. Every time I say pastel, somebody says it's pastel. Every time I say pastel, I say it's pastel. I don't know what's proper. Like I'm proper anyway, but whatever. Come up through there. And then as we come down, that goes into a pattern, and then you have this pattern over here too. You want to be careful with this over here. It's not all that white. It's more gray. And that's one of the things you got to watch out for is getting burned with this white versus gray. Because if you put white where gray is, it's going to look way, way, way too blatant and in your face. So instead of doing that, you can go down a mix, meow mix, and get a gray. We have a few grays. So this has been my lifelong dream, is to get the Giro gray set. And it's not a full set, it's just a few of the grays. And the problem that I was having is I would go gray, but it would be a bluish gray. And if you look at the reference photo, you'll notice it's a bluish gray. So now that I have a bluish gray, I have more control over, you know, where I get the grays in and the shades that they take on. So this is still gray, but it has more of a bluish tint. And we can score that along here and just have this nice gray area there. Along with here, you have sort of a gray. And then, especially down here, there's just a big predominance of this gray. And you have to learn to sort of look underneath the hair and see what's beneath, because that is what you will be painting. It's the base coat. Don't look at the hair color. If you paint that as your base coat, you're going to be negative painting all day, and it's going to be miserable. You're going to have a miserable time with it. So if you can, you go beneath the hair and look. And you just have to do a little more analysis before you start. So that is a black pattern there. Then you have this here. And as with everything gray, you want to make sure to mix that gray with other stuff. For example, here the gray you have has a little white in it. So it has white hairs. So we're going to do these with colored pencil and do these with pastel pencils, but we can sort of get a hint of hair just by going through like this. And that's going to help out a lot. It's going to save us time. And then you want to make sure and go over it with your fingers so you have the control over that shade. Alright. So that looks alright. Then you have the black between it. Well, we got 30 seconds. So you have the black in between this. So we come in with the black. Got to be careful with the Giro. These things snap in half. You will not have a good day. I've had 3 of them snap in half. Because you hold them like this and they just snap. I wasn't even putting any pressure into it. You got to be careful with these things. Alright, we have the black here. We're just sort of relaxing. Alright. So you have this nice yellow that's coming across through here and it blends into the white. And that yellow is going to come out through here. And it's going to be blending in with the white here as well. But not as much. Now be aware that when you make these, cut them out, you need to make it a 1/2 inch wider on all sides. At least a 1/2 inch wider on all sides. So your frame has something to sit on when you're painting, you want to make sure to not go over in that area. So this is a bit off center. In other words, I didn't get it exactly centered. It's too high from the trace that I did. So what I'm going to do is when I frame it, I'm going to come flush with the frame on top. And then I'm going to take the whole inch on bottom instead of ½ inch everywhere. So the sides are going to remain a ½ inch. So make sure you avoid the last ½ inch here. And instead of doing that, you just avoid it. Because if you paint it, it's going to be hidden. Especially if you spend a lot of work on that particular area, it's not going to look good at all because it's hidden. So over here we have long hairs, and I just want something underneath the long hairs, basically, right? So we're going to do long hairs with pencils, both colored pencil and pastel pencils. But I want something for it to sit on. If you just come here and you don't put any color at all, and you do pastel pencils, it's going to leave gaps, and the gaps are going to be light gray, and it looks like the cat's light gray. So instead, you're going to put in a color that you don't mind being like that. All right, cool. So we have that area here that we're going to put our pastel pencils on. I like that. And then beneath that, or above that, sorry, we have our black. And the black came through here, comes in a little bit. Make sure you don't make straight lines. Even if you see a straight line, make sure you don't draw it. Nothing makes nature look more terrible than straight lines. Wasn't that in the Prometheus movie? Nature doesn't have straight lines? Alright, so we just want a hint of hair across through there. Alright, cool. Then we have the area here, which we did. Comes across through there. Or that area here, which we did. We can put some dots over here. That. Put dots above it. Alright. And then we have dots here, but they're a tighter pattern. Like that. And then below that we have dots. More dots. Stop dots. There we go. Right through there. Cool. Alright. I like that. And then I don't like this. It could use some work. Alright. I like that. I do think that's completely wonky right here, but whatever. We will fix it later. Nothing says beautiful art of procrastination like doing it later. So we got a stripe here. That is my favorite pastime, is procrastination. Why do it now when you can put it off? Doesn't make any sense. It's a lot of work to do it right now. Alright, so that is a white pattern underneath that eye. So let's go ahead and score that with my white pastel that I'm not sure what I did with. Oh well, I've got another one. And there's a white pattern underneath his eye right here. I think my trace is just off. I need a projector. And then above the eye, again I think the eye is off. I'm going to assume that it comes across through here. Then you come across through here. I'm making an executive decision here about this eye. And it may come bite me later. All right. Okay. I do like that. We'll come back with the black. Actually, we're going to use a darker gray right here. And then up here, that is fairly dark. I don't think that's going to pass. That dark gray does not get a passing grade for this section up here because it's too dark. Alright, and then coming up here with this. And then as you come across outside of the eye here, and that bleeds into this like that. Now we start having these sections like that. That looks all right. And then as we come up, we have a section here that bleeds into this section coming down there. All right, so that looks all right. So at this point, what we need is that beautiful yellow 18, because that's coming up across through here. And then it comes down and starts bleeding into this gray. And then of course you have the beautiful yellow 18 as it comes up across through here. And I'm going all the way up to the top because again I made it too short. And we have this beautiful color here that comes across in. Okay, I like that. And then we have a black center section here because we have this section there, and then we have a black coming through here. Again, we're going the direction of the hair. Alright, and we can push it in a little bit to make it a little more blendable. Blendable. Alright. So I like that. Now I want to start the eye, but again I think my trace is off, so I'm not sure what to do about that. I guess I could try it out. Because you have like this here. And it comes down, and then up a little. Then you have this section up here. And that is rounded out like that. Alright, I'm going to look at the thumbnail. I like that. The eyes are definitely different sizes, which I'm not pleased with. I think I can fix it. But that side is turned away, so I think I can get away with that being a little smaller. Especially if I bleed in this darker color here, that goes along through there, like that, like that. So if I do that, that looks better. Okay. So we have a bunch of stuff up here. I'm not going to concern myself with that yet. What I do want to concern myself with is all this white over here. So outside of the eye area, we have white. I can reduce the size a little bit with this as well. There we go. And that comes out and then up. And then over here you have something weird, furry area. Okay, pretty happy with that. Then we'll come in here with our yellow 18. We have some yellow 18 action right here. And then we have some coming up through there. And then like most of this area up here is yellow 18. Alright, looks pretty good. Alright, and to the center we have some yellow 18 action coming right about there. And then in between that we have a darker area. We'll go with the Y13 because that sort of comes through here. Like a darker weird color up through there. Cool. We have a little bit of that coming down through here. Not much, like barely pressing. Because this thing is strong. Alright, get a little speckled pattern there. Do the same here, get a little speckles. Pattern across through there. Alright, looks pretty good. And now we need our black areas between the white. So as we're coming outside of the eye here, we have this area there like that, like a these. And then we have an area here. And then as you come across, we have an area over here. So, nice area there. We have some coming up through here, so we have this nice, pressure really light, because this is a light area. Like that. And then you have it as it comes across through here, and then it goes up there, etc., etc. So you have like a nice cross-section of stripes through there, there. You come up, you get like that. Like this. So it looks pretty good. Alright, so now underneath the mouth we have a bunch of white. That is indeed just a bunch of white. So we can just come across with it. And I want to get the outside edges of this. We're using our big pastel, not our little one. This is going to be mostly colored pencil to give us that fur effect. Or that bearded effect. We did this with a bearded line, you guys remember that. Just came in with white. And then the colored pencil gave us that really, really rich detail. And then as you come in the center, it gets darker. So what we're going to do is just press a little bit lighter. And because the paper is already light gray, it'll give us that light gray effect. And again, just lighter and lighter and lighter like that. And then when you get your finger, get a clean finger, which I don't have, get the back of your knuckle, and you rub it in there like that. It'll give you that nice, soft fur effect there, just waiting for some pastel pencils, some color pencil, and stuff like that. And in the middle you have a bunch of dark dots, and we can replicate that with here. Just come in with this, our darker green, 513, and just make little speckled dots. You don't want a bunch, just little speckles. Little speckle it. Speckle it there, speckle it here, speckle it everywhere. And it's less speckles the more you fold down there. There's less speckles. but you do want some speckles. Like that. Come in with a clean hand. There you go. So that looks all right. So now we just need the side over there. So you can see over here, we have a whole lot of Y18 action. And that's a dark area in between it. Then as you get out of the Y18 action, it sort of eases up right here. And we rub that in with our hand. I think we got a clean Y18 worthy finger there. And then between that we got a dark area. You want to be careful with the dark areas. Black is one of the difficult colors to mask, so it's fairly difficult to undo a really, really dark area where you pressed really hard. You're pretty much screwed at that point, unfortunately. So you press a light. Press a light. Just have confidence in where you're going and be able to, you do this enough times to where you can sort of eyeball the area. And then obviously I traced it, so that helps too. But the problem with tracing it is once you start wandering through here with different colored pastels, now you don't have the original trace anymore that you can see it. So you have to sort of eyeball all of this crap. And like eyeball it like that. And then I know I have that pattern. Between that pattern, you have a little lighter pattern. You want to make sure to nail the values. The values is your key. Alright, so underneath this pattern, this goes from here and it goes up, and between that we have this pattern here. And the good thing is this is not a human face, so you can be off a little bit. As long as you have some stripes and they're not straight lines, it looks alright. A human face, if you're off a millimeter, and I mean a millimeter anywhere, on the eye or nose or anything like that, then everybody notices. And that's because the person that you're drawing is, people have been looking at them every day for years and years and years, so they know when it's off balance. And that's bad for you, because that means you have to be super, super precise on humans. But luckily this is a tiger that you've never seen before, so chances are, if I nail the eyes in the correct spot and I get the stripes and they look like they're not straight lines in a symmetrical pattern, then you're going to be happy. You're going to be like, your mind registers, hey, that's a tiger. And he has stripes that aren't in straight lines. It looks all right. I like it. You did good, Mr. Pastel Man. All right, so a little bit of white up in there. Over here, got a white. After this, I'm going to go work out and eat. Alright, looks alright. Alright, looks pretty good. And we got a little cross section of white coming across through here with the hairs. Just make that. Like that. We got white hairs here, make them more prominent. And white coming down through there. Alright, and then we got the white up here. Okay. And then across through here, a little bit of white, not much. I know it's a gray area. No pun intended. Okay, so now on the edges, the little speckled edges, we got our Y18. And in between the Y18 we have white. So we have Y18 with white hairs. So between the Y18s right here, we have definitive hairs. And what we're going to do, just get some hint of hairs. And again, you can use Rembrandt. You can use any cheap old, Jerry's Artorama sells a bunch of cheap old harder pastels. You can use new pastels, doesn't really matter. Just want a hint of hair. Don't draw every hair. Just want a hint. So I call it the free hair. You don't have to put a lot of work into it, and it looks all right. So in here, you can make a couple of marks. Just press a little harder. Get a couple of hair patterns. Nothing major. Don't go wild in here. Just want a couple of hair patterns here and there. All right, it looks nice. Up here, got a couple of hair patterns. Alright. You have to fix his nose, it looks terrible. I think it'll suffice for today, but it needs some major plastic surgery. Alright, so on the bottom here we have this really, really dark pattern. I'm not sure if I can get that or not, the way it is. I think I can use this gray 20. Well, that's brutal. Unison, you done me wrong with this thing, man. And you need some darkness to make the white stand out, essentially, down through here. Alright, make sure you don't go the last ½ inch. And then this gray 20 sort of bleeds into a light orangish color. So we want to get some of that represented. Alright, and we'll do that with this BE. We'll get that and come in here and highlight the darks a little bit. And again, this is going to be some pencil work in here. But hey, if you can score some of this like a D's, that would be nice. And then we're going to come in with our lighter color here. This is sort of a yellowish, orangish. Actually, this is not going to do us. What was that click? Oh. Hang on. Alright. We have an orangish thing going there. I'm trying to find the right color. I don't think that's it. All right, the last inch of this is going to be covered, so I'm not too concerned about detail on that. All right. Okay, so we have this color here, and I want to get this blended down into here, because I know that comes down farther. And I just want to get a pattern in here, just to fill it. At this point, get a pattern in here just to fill it up. We'll come in here with details with the pencils, because we are running out of time. We've got about 5 more minutes. So just get a couple of different areas across through there. And then through here, we need to get some more detail, and we can do that with our gray. So we have like a gray hairs coming out through there. Like that. And across through there. Then over here, you have like a grayish section coming out. Alright, make sure to blend that. That's really garish. Okay, so pretty happy with that. We need something at the bottom here for this icy color. I do have some 459, which is a lot of white. Not exactly icy, but it can get sort of a speckled pattern between that. Just get a pattern just coming across through here. Like that. And then we can come back with our actual icy colors. Where'd it go? So our actual icy color, which is our Giro 359, and just make some patterns for that. So just put some ice in there. Spread that around. So we just want to fill in the gap, essentially. Okay, cool. So I'm going to stop here, make a couple more adjustments, but overall I am pretty happy with this. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great afternoon.